Well, India's lunar mission Chandrayaan-3 is nearing its exciting climax. It's the closest to the moon before the tricky landing maneuver is attempted on the 23rd of August. Meanwhile, the Russian lunar probe Lunar 25 is also closing in and will attempt a lunar landing between the 21st of August and the 23rd. Both Russia and India are targeting a landing near the south pole of the moon. Is there an India-Russia race to the moon? ISRO feels it is not, and that both countries will have a new meeting point on the moon. My colleague Bagla joins me at this stage, but as I bring in Pallav, let's just take a look at the Chandrayaan-3 journey so far. Chandrayaan-3 was launched on the 14th of July from Sriharikota. It used the launch vehicle Mark III, one of India's largest rockets. It reached the moon's orbit on the 5th of August. It's been orbiting the moon since then. Today, the Chandrayaan-3 was put in an orbit of 153 kilometers by 163 kilometers, and all lunar-bound maneuvers completed. So, relatively close to the surface of the moon, but still a long distance to go, and we'll tell you why. On the 17th of August, the propulsion module and the Vikram lander will separate. So, tomorrow is going to be one of the make-or-break days. I think that would be a fair way to characterize it. The propulsion module, in other words, the engines and the part of the entire module which has actually been able to bring the entire mission to where it is right now, after there was a slingshot from the Earth's gravitational pull on the journey to the moon. The propulsion module will continue its journey in the same orbit, but on the 23rd of August 2023, after preloaded commands are triggered, the Vikram lander will attempt a soft landing on the surface of the moon. ISRO has done many tests to make sure a fail-safe landing occurs. As a final backup, the Vikram lander incorporates what's called a salvage mode to make a landing on the moon. After the lander touches down, the lunar dust settles. The rover, that's called Pragyan, will be rolled out. Vikram will take images of the Pragyan rover, and the rover will take images of the lander, the first Indian selfies from the lunar surface. So it's going to be quite exciting. Fantastic science. The 14th Earth Day planned scientific exploration of the moon will begin. So, Pallav, where exactly are we at this stage?
Very exciting. Chandrayaan-3 is in the moon orbit. It is closest to the orbit of the moon before it starts its descent. Till now, all of these maneuvers India has done in Chandrayaan-2. So this is all fairly familiar territory, but it still remains rocket science. Tomorrow, the propulsion module and the Vikram lander will separate from each other. The propulsion module will continue in the same orbit. Both of them would be in the same orbit for a while. On 23rd, the Vikram lander will start its descent onto the lunar surface. So very exciting times for Indian Space Research Organization, and a nail-biting finish expected on 23rd. But before that, we also have a Russian spacecraft which has now actually entered the lunar orbit. So now both are in the lunar orbit. So there's a kind of a Jugalbandi which is happening in space between India and Russia, which are both old friends.
Pallav, hold on. Let's talk about that. The Russian moon probe Lunar 25. It is a surprise move. Russia launched its lunar satellite named Lunar 25 on the 11th of August. It comes 47 years after the USSR last sent a lunar mission. Russia used a heavy lift rocket that sent the Lunar 25 directly on its journey to the moon. Unlike India, which used a circuitous route, Lunar 25 is likely to enter the moon's orbit on the 16th of August. Russia attempts a soft landing between the 21st and the 23rd. So it's going to be close. Both Lunar 25 and the Vikram lander are trying to land close to the south pole of the moon. Lunar 25 weighs 1,750 kilos. At liftoff, it carries 30 kilos of 9 scientific experiments. Lunar 25 is only a robotic lander. It has no rover in it. The expected mission life of Lunar 25 is a year. Lunar 25 is powered by a radioactive generator. That's why it can last longer. Very different types of missions. There's no rover on Lunar 25, so that makes it different. Lunar 25's mission journey from the Earth to Moon last 10 days. That's because they have a rocket that has the ability to take it directly into the orbit of the moon. We don't. We use a very difficult method of slingshotting our probe to the moon, Chandrayaan-3, using the Earth's gravitational force. We don't have a big rocket that could go all the way, but we've gotten to the same place as Lunar has. In fact, we've gotten there earlier, but who's going to be the first to touch down on the surface of the moon? Lunar 25 will also study the moon soil and look for water and ice. Why is everybody interested in the moon, Pallav?
The moon is our nearest celestial neighbor. We look at the moon almost every other day with our naked eyes. But more importantly, it is a pristine habitat which incorporates what was the solar system like, what was the universe like when Earth was formed. So there is great interest in understanding the geology of the moon, the evolution of the moon, and since there is no erosion on the moon, there is no wind, there is no rain, so all what is there on the moon surface is really very pristine, whereas on Earth, all of it has been eroded to the wind and water erosion. More importantly, now the world is looking at the moon with renewed interest, especially because there is a feeling that sooner than later there will need to be a permanent habitation outside Earth, and there's no place closer than the moon. And if you have to have a habitation all the way to Mars or visit by humans to Mars, then moon is the obvious staging point. And America's Artemis mission has the same goals in mind. And now India has also signed the Artemis Accords. So we are one step closer to that, India and America. But Russia and China are also attempting similar things. So it's a very interesting phase, as they say, for lunar scientists. Sometimes people call them lunatics.
Let's roll some video and animation if we can. This is of Chandrayaan. And as we see this, just talk us through this rocket. Now, India has never had the need for a rocket bigger than this, but evidently going forward for deep space missions, we will. This is a rocket which has had a couple of problems in the past, but I think we've overcome those problems. So Pallav, the GSLV rocket, the animation that we are seeing over here, just run us through this blast off and then what happened after that.
What we're seeing is the liftoff of the launch vehicle Mark III. The launch vehicle Mark III has had no issues. It's a 100% successful rocket. All the missions have been fully successful, and the Chandrayaan-3 liftoff was absolutely correct and precise. So it's a rocket which has great lineage, 100% success, and it's the same rocket which India will use for its Gaganyaan mission to send astronauts. So the heritage of the rocket is extremely good. It's a very elegant, simple rocket, as ISRO scientists tell me. That is why it has had a great success record. And Chandrayaan-3 was placed in a beautifully precise orbit thanks to this very simple and elegant launcher, very heavy. It is over 600 tons in weight, but very elegant and simple in design.
So Pallav, let's talk a little bit about the moves which will take place tomorrow. Firstly, when will the propulsion module separate from the lander? At what time? IST tomorrow.
The Indian Space Research Organization has not given out the exact time when they will attempt it, but I'm sure in their space tracking network and at the facilities in Bangalore from the control center, they know exactly when they will need to do it. They will usually do that in a very precise manner. And this is not a very tricky operation, I would say, because the lander and the propulsion module, they simply need to separate, be in the same orbit. The next stage is the most tricky one, which is the soft landing, attempting the soft landing on the moon. So tomorrow's maneuver is something which should not be very hard for ISRO to pull off. there can be unknowns which
Well,
come in.
we had bad news, Pallav, just moments before we expected a success last time around. So let's hope that our luck is good. It is very, very tricky science. It's not easy at all. But we were talking about Chandrayaan versus Lunar, which is the Russian probe, which has also been launched right now. So let's do this comparison. Chandrayaan-3 and Lunar 25, a head-to-head comparison. Chandrayaan-3 will take 40 days to reach the moon's surface. Lunar will take just 10. Russia used a heavier rocket so it could send its lunar satellite directly to the moon. India used a medium-lift rocket and took a circuitous route that we've spoken about. Chandrayaan-3 weighs 3,921 kilos. Lunar 25 weighs 1,750 kilos. Chandrayaan-3 has both a Vikram lander and Pragyan, the rover. Lunar 25 is just a lander mission. There's no rover which comes out and then roves around the surface of the moon. India's Vikram lander weighs 1,745 kilos. The Lunar 25 lander weighs about 800 kilos. So it's substantially lighter, and that has a serious, impact in terms of the final descent. We'll talk about that. The expected mission life of the Vikram lander is 14 Earth days. Lunar 25 will last 1 year. Pallav, 14 Earth days is how many? It's 14 Earth days. Okay, so that's how many moon days is that approximately?
1 moon day.
Okay.
From dawn to dusk on the moon takes 14 Earth days, which is why India is attempting to land on the 23rd of August, which is the lunar dawn, so that they get full 14 days to do the scientific experiment. Since Vikram lander and the Pragyan rover are both powered using solar panels. Unlike Luna, which also has a radionuclide power generator.
So, Pallav, is there a potential race to get to the surface? And the reason I ask you this is because technically, if it's successful tomorrow, the separation of the propulsion module and the lander, ISRO could be well placed to actually beat Luna to the surface of the moon. I know you don't plan to do that because you spent a lot of money on this kind of mission. You want everything according to your schedule, but India did want to be the first to put a rover down on the south pole of the moon.
Well, there is no race between India and Russia for the simple reason Russia is the guru and India is a chela. There is no doubt about that. Russia is leaps and bounds ahead of India in space technology, and India has learned so much, and India and Russia are great friends. There is no space race of that sort happening between India and Russia. But yes, the country which puts and does the soft landing near the south pole of the moon would certainly be called the first country to have done that. But we should remember, the first country to put its flag on the south pole of the moon was India in Chandrayaan-1, when the moon impact probe went down in 2008. So India is a little ahead.
Absolutely. So once we do make hopefully a safe touchdown on the surface of the moon, there's the rover which comes out. And for the benefit of our viewers, Pallav, and we forgot to mention this, 23rd of August, at what time does the rover hopefully touch down?
First, the Vikram lander has
Sorry,
to come
the lander.
down.
What time does the lander touch down?
Right now, the nominal time which the Indian Space Research Organization has given is 5:47 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Once the lander touches down, there would be a period when they would let the lunar dust to settle down, and then later the Pragyan rover will roll down and go down to the surface, and it is all expected within hours of soft landing.
All right, so at this time, it's 6:42 now, approximately this time on the 23rd is when, give and take a few minutes here and there, obviously, we'd have Pragyan make its way down to the lunar surface, right?
A little later in the day.
A little later.
A little later in the day, because it would take about an hour, I am told, they would let the lunar dust settle down. They have not given out the exact timeline, but the broad timeline is such that on the same day we would see, if all goes well, we would see the Pragyan rover coming out and going on to the lunar surface. And both the Lunar 25 and Vikram lander are not going to be too far from each other. They are looking at the same quadrangle, as they say. So it is going to be very exciting because you would get science from two landers from a region which is unexplored for the lunar surface.
Absolutely.
So very, very exciting times, Vishnu.
It is, and we're going to be covering it very closely on NDTV, Pallav and me, with a lot of the world's finest scientists, astronomers, space enthusiasts, engineers, researchers. So we've got a lot of special programming coming up. You don't want to miss that on NDTV.